Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Matre Namaha. Matre Namaha.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु भ्रान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु भ्रान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु भ्रान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, or KYG as we all know it by now. Thank you as always for taking time and joining this Satsang, where the Divine is leading us into these beautiful corridors of higher dimensions that lie within our own consciousness. And as we go within each day, each Satsang, we get closer and closer to the one divinity, the one consciousness that pervades everywhere. And that is all. There is ultimately only one. that state of Kaivalya. There is no other. And when we know that our consciousness is that one, then there is no death. There is no birth. So it is with that in mind that we embark and continue on this beautiful journey. So let's go back to the slides and take off where we left off in the last class. In the last class, we touched upon this innermost triangle, the eighth avarana, in which lie the 16 aspects of ourselves that we can understand, relate to through the mind. So we spoke of Kameshwari, Bhagamalini, Nitya Klinne, Bherunde, Vakhnivasini. And then we came across Vajreshwari. And then we came across Shivaduti, where we talked about intuition. And then we stopped at Tvarite in the last class. Talked about the Ashtami, the number 8, number 7, number 6, and so on. These numbers indicate that phase of the moon. And so it is with Tvarite, that part after which we cross halfway, if you will. So Tvarite, or the 8th night, is halfway between the new moon and the full moon, or vice versa, between the full moon and the new moon. And therefore Tvarite is considered as a crown of Devi. It's a jewel. The Shakti she places as a jewel in her crown. That is how beautiful and powerful Ashtami is. So when Tvarite means swiftness, once we realize the energy here, once we do sadhana on this night, once the mind opens to receiving, invoking this energy by calling out the name, all these names are purely just calling them out, calling them and offering salutations, and therefore they reveal themselves. So once you do this, swiftness, you're blessed with swiftness, your progress, whatever it is at task in your hand, and especially if it is a spiritual search, then it gathers momentum from this night. And then comes the most beautiful thing. Once Tvarite is recognized, then comes Kula Sundari. Kula Sundari is, you see, this is the first reference to a beauty. The beauty of the Kula. Kula means the lineage. We talked about this in one of the previous chakras as well. Kula is the lineage, and our lineage is what? Divine lineage. Forget all the other things that we are born into and all of that. That all is related to a certain extent only up to the body. But when we go deeper into the spirit, then you and I, we are all connected to the Sundari, the most beautiful one. And therefore, we get a glimpse, thanks to Ashtami, the Navami, Kula Sundari gives us a glimpse of what it is. It is a glimpse. Because this is a first reference, it's not a feeling or an adjective in that sense. Sundari means beauty. Beauty means something had to have been perceived for this name to come out. Kula Sundari. So there is an element of darshan, not a complete darshan, but you get a glimpse. So that really opens. See, after Ashtami, you will notice that doors open more beautifully and more powerfully, whether you're going within or whether you're going without. That is why in ancient Sanatan Dharma, going within, going without, materialistic, spiritualistic, there was no such distinctions. This all came up with religion and dogmatic belief systems, superstitions, and then we started becoming judgmental about what is spiritual, what is not spiritual, and so on and so forth. But here, whether the moon is waxing or waning, you get the beauty here. Anyway, the next one from here is Nitya. Nitya, just Nitya. Nitya means constancy. Nitya means eternal. So now Kula, you get a glimpse, there is no going back. No going back. Dashami is, she establishes herself eternally. That is why Navaratri Dashami is celebrated, because here Nitya comes, and the final, the 16th one, is Mahanithi. So there is a connection between the Dashami and the last one. That is why in Indian culture there's a practice that goes on for 10 nights in a row, from the new moon till the 10th night, till this night, 4 times in a year. The most popular one being somewhere in the end of September and October. That will happen this year as well. So the 10th night is this Nitya, she gets established. In other words, that energy, everything is part from her, right? Any creative energy that you're pursuing, it gets established on the 10th night. The 10th phase of the moon is about stability, about constancy, and all of that. Because the energy to be provoked on that night, to be invoked rather on that night, is Nitya. Nitya. Nitya is eternal, always, constant. All of these synonyms explains Nitya. Then what happens when that constant happens? Ekadashi, the 11th night. Neela Patake. Neela Patake is perhaps misunderstood for those who know this Devi. She is considered to be very dark, and therefore it's easy to somebody say, oh, it's terrible, she's dangerous, she's terrible, we need to appease her, we need to please her, she's angry, she's dark, she's the Kali energy, and so on. This is all fear-mongering kind of teachings or learnings that somehow seeped into our culture. But that's not. Neela Pataki, what does it mean? Neela is blue. There is a reference for darkness through the color blue. That is why Krishna Krishna means dark. But how do you color Krishna in blue? Correct? It's a poetic way. It's a beautiful way of saying that there is darkness. So there is darkness is Neela. So to that extent it is correct. She comes from the depths of our consciousness. She arises from the depths of our mind. Neela Patake, sapphire. So in Ekadashi, in the 11th night, the reason why we fast, and you might say, oh, but that fasting is only for those of you who know these things, because we get caught into this half-baked knowledge, correct? All of us, me included. So when we do a Ekadashi, we'll say, but Ekadashi is something to do with Vishnu and Vaishnavism, but this is Shakti worship. In Shakti worship, we don't do Ekadashi and all of that. Excuse me, sorry. I don't know where that came from. But see, they are not different energies. The Shakti of Vishnu is Lakshmi. There is that energy there. So what happens here when we fast on the 11th day, for example, or do intense practice, spiritual practice, 8th day, 11th day, okay? And there is the 4th day, which is, we talked about the Ganesha energy. The 4th day, the 8th day, the 11th day. So the 11th day or night or 11th phase of the moon, we take time to go deep into our subconscious. There is a very subtle reference to the Saturn energy, which she rules at that point, because Saturn is deep in the Mooladhara, in the subconscious. That is why blue is mentioned, blue sapphire is mentioned, which is the gem of Saturn. Nevertheless, these are just references for us to delve on, meditate on, contemplate on. But what is referred here is 11th night, take advantage, 11th phase of the moon, take advantage to invoke this Neela Patake from the darkness of your own mind. In other words, from the depths of your subconscious and unconscious. We normally cannot see them. So they are in the dark. That is the relevance of darkness here. There is no Devi sitting there to punish you or she is ferocious in some manner. Because we don't know, we have made it a habit to be afraid of things we don't know. It's called popularly, we all know this phrase, right? Fear of the unknown. And we think it is natural. No, it's not. It's an induced thing. It's a learned phenomenon. So let us unlearn that right away. There is no room for fear. There is no God or goddess waiting to punish us or look down upon us. The moment we commit sin or the moment we commit a mistake, especially in this understanding, they'll jump upon and somehow punish us. These are all our own low self-esteems coming to surface when a little problem or a little challenge comes up in life, we try to link these two and say, oh, because I started this happened. I keep getting emails like this. And that's why I reply as much as I can. But the point is, we have to stop. When good things happen, why don't we be absolutely certain that that was because of God's grace? We say, oh, we don't know, how can we get faith? But when bad things happen, we're quick to jump to saying, oh, God is testing me, or something went wrong in my practice, and therefore there is somebody out there to punish me, and so on and so forth. We get caught into these very childish approaches to the idea of God. And we'll get nowhere. We could spend a whole life in this, running from one practice to another practice, looking for the safe practice, all of that. So don't be afraid of Neela Patake. She is the most beautiful energy lying in your subconscious, and your subconscious holds memories of many, many, many lifetimes. Many lifetimes, not just every single experience of this lifetime, but many lifetimes. And then deeper into that, the mind connects you to the universal mind, where you draw energy from past lives. Everything from the Akashic records, you get to draw that. How does that? How are we able to access that? Whose grace? What energy do we need to access that? Neela Patake. It is her energy that brings forth the knowledge. That's all we need. We need an understanding that will come from deep inside. We don't need to know what is inside. She'll take care of that. But she reveals to us the essence of what we need to know at that point. And we'll get the strength and the guidance. That revelation is a big step through in our spiritual progress. Therefore, the 11th day or phase of the moon, the 11th night of the moon, is considered holy across all religious sects in India, even to this day. They were not meant to be religious sects. There was only one large Sanatana Dharma, but nevertheless, that way of life had understood the 11th night of the moon. So, one need to ask oneself, what is the kind of practice that I can do on the 11th day to go deep within? So fasting is one practice, because I want to cut off myself from just running around, eating, cooking and all of that. I want to go take time. What do I do then? I take time to go within. I fast my mind of its usual habitual patterns of thinking. I break those neurons and go within. 11th phase is most conducive for that kind of practice. So that is Neela Patake, the energy of blue sapphire. And like I said yesterday, in the last class rather, blue sapphire and all these words are merely to give you an idea of that energy. There is really no perfect way to translate these energies, these Devis, because each one is a window to an energy. So I'm using keywords there. Okay. So that is the 11th. When we get access to that, on the 12th phase comes victory. Vijaya. Vijaya is victory. Then there is no doubt. Victory means what? You begin to know for sure what is in you. That is victory. There is no more confusion. That is victory. There is no more victimization or thoughts of being, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. There is victory. I am in charge. I have won. That victory comes. So when we have any particular desire or thought that we are following, at this point, you will begin to achieve the manifestation, steps towards manifesting that. And victory is in sight. Vijaya is a very powerful, positive energy. Just look at the opposite. It's not that Neela Patake is negative, but because she is dark, she is hidden. And then from there comes Vijaya. Vijaya is victory. Right from the innermost subconscious mind, you can dig out. And once that opens, then what comes forth in the next phase of the moon is Vijaya, or victory. That is the beauty of this path. This path is understanding our mind. When I say this path, spiritual path in general, and in particular this practice of Sri Chakra, is understanding the energies of our mind, accepting them, invoking those energies, and then going deeper and deeper and deeper, allowing these energies to guide us into the Sri Chakra, the chakras of consciousness, which are whirling and twirling at high speed. And then we go into that, experiencing different aspects of our own divinity. So Vijaya comes there. Then comes the next energy, Sarva Mangale, Sarva Mangale or Sarva Mangala. Sarva Mangala, auspiciousness is Mangala. Mangala means auspiciousness. Sarva Mangale, eternally auspicious. Everything becomes auspicious. You get the Midas or Midas. Midas was a king who touched anything and became gold. Midas, okay. King Midas touched everything and it became gold. Everything you see, everything your words become auspicious, your actions become auspicious, your thoughts become auspicious. The environment around you allow that energy to make it auspicious. That is why when somebody is truly in the spiritual path, monks and all of them who have dedicated themselves, you would like to be in that energy because you just feel a sense of auspiciousness in that presence. And that is the power of this. I can speak this from direct experience, and many of you would have experienced it as well when I had a chance, as did hundreds of boys, when we sat with Sai Baba at his feet, sometimes alone, sometimes with 2 or 3 people, sometimes with 20 people, sometimes with 5,000 or 10,000 people in large auditoriums. But that presence made everything auspicious. Nobody was complaining about heat or mosquitoes or how long they were sitting or leg cramping, and all of that. Everything kind of disappeared, and all that remained was Mangalam, Mangalam, Mangalam. There was just auspiciousness all around. Because of that one presence. Why? Because that Shakti was completely manifesting through that body, through that presence, through that being, through that Guru. Sarva Mangale. No words, no inauspicious words can come out unless he wills it or she wills it on purpose for something. It might seem inauspicious for certain reasons, but that also has an auspiciousness attached to it. So, Sarva Mangale, all auspicious. You see, why do I believe in these things so much is because when a snake bit me and I had a few minutes more to live, what came out of Sai Baba's mouth? No, it's not a snake, just a thorn. That is what do I mean by auspiciousness? He just removed that whole negative energy, the idea of death from this dimension of reality that I was sharing with him at that point, right? I was sharing with thousands of people. You and I share this dimension right now. We say, come back to reality, and we say this is real. So in this so-called real dimension, when a snake bites you, you have a few minutes to live. And there is no antidote. There is no antidote to be given. And so word is sent to Baba, and he converts that most inauspicious, death-like situation. He converts it. Sarva Mangale. His words are enough. His presence is enough. That is the energy, the Shakti that is within us too. We need to invoke. And now you begin to understand why is it that even though we say we do Khadgamala, for example, a practice like this on the 8th day, or we do once a month, we do once in 15 days, or because we don't have time, we'll choose a good day and do it. That's good. But when you get every day in tune with the moon as you practice this, and you begin to understand today is this day, and therefore I want to spend my day invoking this particular energy, whatever that practice is. In fact, in this Nitya Devi, there are pujas for each Devi. It just gets more and more and more complicated. If you go in after rituals, then there is a ritual, there is a mantra, there is a chant for each Devi, there is a yantra for each Devi, each of these energies. But one needn't go there, that to that extent. But if we just take this, write it down, and each day understand, follow a calendar. These calendars, Vedic calendars, are available online anywhere these days. drikpanchang.com, it is there. Maya, if you can text it out there, that'll be good. Drik Panchang. That's a Panchangam. It's a Hindu calendar. So you will get, it's a little complicated, but if you just understand a little bit, you'll know, okay, which phase of the moon it is. Is it Prathami? It is Dvitiya? It is Tritiya? I'm just giving an example. There are so many more Hindu calendars that are out there for your particular geographical location. Just tune in and say, today is Neela Patake. What will I do to go into the depths of my consciousness? Am I going to spend a few minutes meditation? Or am I going to fast and skip a meal maybe? Or just stay away from coffee or sugar or something? Something you need to ask yourself, not punish yourself. You're not trying to please anyone out there. But something that will help you tune into that particular energy. Vijaya, how will you celebrate Vijaya on the 12th phase of the moon? What is it that you want to be grateful for? What victory in your life that you can celebrate? Bring out that energy. Let her awaken. All of these energies will guide you to your inner self. All right. Then comes the 14th night. Jawala Malini. Look at how after the 8th night, you had Kula Sundari, Nitya, then you have Neela Patake, Vijaya or Vijaya, Sarva Mangale, Jawala Malini. Jawala means flames. Jawala means light. Malini is one who wears this light. That means light is all over her. In other words, she is surrounded, encircled by light. Mala is garland. Malini is one who wears the garland. Right? So, Jawala Malini, what kind of garland? Garland here, don't think of garland the way we understand. That's why I didn't use that word garland. Encircled by light. Encircled by light. Pearls of wisdom and light and enlightenment begins to encircle the consciousness, and she awakens to guide us on the 14th night. How beautiful is that? Jawala Malini. What happens here is, does it mean that you will become omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent? That's a far fetch at this point for us to even discuss. But you will begin to grasp things very easily. Whatever the subject is, whatever the stream of knowledge is, whatever the situation in life is, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. You won't be caught up in the throes of darkness and depression. Because you have gone through that. Neela Patake has opened that door for you. Vijaya and all of them have prepared. And Jawala Malini, once she comes, she begins to light all paths of your life. Wherever you look, if there is a problem, you will see a solution. You will know that is the solution. And you will go for that solution fearlessly, knowing that if it doesn't work for any reason, there is a greater lesson for me to learn. But at this moment, I think that is a solution, and therefore I will pursue it. That is the power of Jawala Malini. She lights your path in every aspect of your life. We don't need to run to anybody else outside once we begin to rely on these Devis, these Shaktis, these energies that lie latent in our own mind. It is too good to be true, my dear brothers and sisters. But it is true. We can postpone this kind of belief. We can say, no, but there is only God's grace has to give me. I don't know. And we can deny that such treasures exist within us. But you cannot deny for long, because you have to come face to face with this truth. This is the Saraswati river. There is Ganga and Yamuna, Bhakti and Karma and action and all of that. We can do all these rituals. We can have a lot of emotion and Bhakti and devotion towards our practice. But when Jnana, the river of knowledge and wisdom, begins to flow and Jawala Malini opens up, then you have to merge into that. You have to merge and allow that wisdom to light your path. Every aspect of your path begins to open up and light up. Not in the way your little ego would like it. I might want something in my life. I might be doing something for KYG. I might have some plans. Yes, at this point, I am being guided. I will do it. But I know that there is a higher wisdom that will open greater doors for me. How? I don't know. It could be at different dimensions. It could be across different births. At this moment and at every moment, once you awaken Jawala Malini, she begins to guide you. And your heart is at peace. You're not chasing. What does it mean to be successful? What does the idea of completion mean? When am I going to complete this? When am I going to start something else? All of this is our little ego deciding all this. Jawala Malini gives you a much bigger picture. That is who guides you. Guides your words, guides your actions, guides your life and everything. So she is the 14th phase of the moon, Jawala Malini. This is why the 14th night of the moon is celebrated as Shivaratri. Masa Shivaratri. Every month, towards the Amavasya, we celebrate the 14th night of the moon. We celebrate the same 14th night when we are celebrating towards the waxing as well, because the mind is now ready to explode into variety. And that is Chitra. Chitre. Chitre or Chitra? Chitra is an interesting concept. Chitra means variety, diversity, multiplicity. The energy of Chitra is what we all see and experience. Everything around us, including our thoughts, including our feelings, and all colors, all vibrations, everything that perceived by the senses, beyond the senses, all this diversity, multiplicity is this energy of Chitra. So the mind is in full bloom, granting this divine experience of complete oneness with all creation. I'm talking of all of this purely from a spiritual angle, but this could mean when your desire that you're pursued in many days, through many weeks, through many months, finally finds its place and able to diversify itself and create further beauty in your life, energy in your life. So Chitra is that. Now the word Chitra, Chitta and Rupa becomes Chitra. Chitta means consciousness. So on the screen of consciousness, you begin to see Rupa. Rupa means form. Form means multiplicity. Once you see one form, it is not just one, it is always there. Form means multiplicity, diversity, because forms. Formless is going back to that screen. Like in a movie theater, like Paramahamsa Yogananda writes about his experience at the movie theater, and so does, I think, even Krishnamurti talks about it, Jiddu Krishnamurti. The idea is the screen is black. The screen of consciousness is white. Nothing is happening. But when the movie starts, all of multiplicity, all of creation, tall peaks, deep valleys, huge rivers, tsunamis, earthquakes and volcanoes, birth of children, beautiful flowers blooming, death, sickness, tragedy, romance, love, dance, everything is projected on that screen. At that moment, the screen is not seen. What we see is the variety. We get sucked into that story. Whether it is a story of James Bond or I don't know who's the other guy. MI somebody. Mission Impossible or whatever. Action-packed, or Jackie Chan or the 36 Chambers of Shaolin. Any of those movies, the action is so fast and furious. You're caught into it. You're pulled into the story, which is simply a projection, an imagination, a projection of someone's imagination using colors and sounds on the screen of your consciousness, and you're sucked into it and you become part of it. You become friends with the hero, you don't like the villain, so you become enemies with the villain, and so on and so forth. You're transported into that imaginary world, such as we are at this moment. Look around you. You and I have transported ourselves into this imaginary world. When this movie stops, what remains is the pure white screen of consciousness. Chitta, Rupa. Chitta and Rupa together becomes Chitra. That is the power of this energy, the final energy. The same journey backwards, what happens is from that, the Rupa begins to disappear, because now we have come to the full moon. And then when we start going back, the form begins to disappear, and so on and so on. So from Chitra, the Rupa becomes more and more less to give us the vision. And thus we reverse the journey back into the self. This may be a little complicated to understand, this forward and backward, the waxing and the waning of the moon. But let's keep that for now. Right now, just understand these energies as they are. When we come to a practice, I'll explain this a little more in detail. The whole exercise in the last 50 odd classes is to just understand the Sri Chakra. Then how we go into the Sri Chakra, what direction we go in, what direction we come out, all that we will discuss. Okay? Because it is a journey into the consciousness, first we should know how has this been presented to us? What is it that we can expect? Each of these energies are completely your own energy. They will reveal themselves to you at your pace. The way you can comprehend, the way you can understand it, they will reveal themselves to you. Somebody else's revelation cannot and will never be your revelation. Learn from others, listen to others, read books about this, but go within and invoke these energies within you and let them reveal themselves to you. That is the crux of this kind of spiritual practice. If I tell you this is the only way you should do it, others are wrong, or is it dangerous and this and that, then I'll be completely misguiding you, which is certainly not my intention. So if I've ever tended to mention anything like this, just ignore those as words from a completely deluded mind. But this is true. You have to study these energies, know these energies, because these energies, the names, the essence of these energies were given to us by enlightened beings, rishis, sages, thousands of years ago, and said, this is you, your body is a Sri Chakra. Go within and find this Devi within. So now, the 15th night is over, but there are 16 Nitya Devis, and there are only 15 phases in the moon. 15 days of waning, 15 days of waxing. We have 30 days, right? So where does the 16th one come? The 16th one is the one beyond the mind. And that is the Bindu. At this point, we call her Mahanithi. We go back to the center. And a tiny, tiny portion of Mahabhattarika that we learnt about a couple of classes earlier, she reveals herself to us in the manner that the mind can perceive it. So this is Mahanithi. Mahanithi. You get a glimpse of that ultimate oneness. A glimpse. It is like you stand in the seashore and the ocean waves begin to wash your feet. And you feel the chillness, the coldness of the waves. And a thrill runs into your body. And you're like, oh my God, the water is so cold. There is joy. There is happiness. And you get to see the expanse of the ocean. You're not experiencing the ocean. But a part of that ocean comes to you and touches your feet, plays with you. Or maybe you will walk in a little bit. Right? And you get to experience the waves coming towards you. Mahanithi. That is Mahanithi. When you become the ocean, that is Mahabhattarika. But this is the Mahanithi, the beauty of that experience. So what are we learning here is, though we say that is beyond our mind, beyond comprehension, somebody might say, and I did ask myself, if it is all of this is beyond comprehension and my mind cannot reach, then what is the point in even trying all of this? How do I even get a taste of something that is beyond the mind? How can I do that? Then Mahanitya's grace comes. That door opens. That door opens. Even though she is beyond the mind, she gives you a glimpse of what that Mahabhattarika is. So when you get that glimpse, you get all the more motivated. Then you dedicate your entire life, and therefore you come out and start worshipping the Sri Chakra. That is why we worship the 16 Nitya Devis right in the beginning. Right in the very beginning. Except for a few chants, and we'll touch upon that as we begin learning the sloka per se. We'll touch upon that. But after that, we directly come to the Nitya Devis. Because when we get a glimpse of Mahanitya, we're like, oh my gosh, that is where I want to be. And then when you go in one by one into these chakras, changing a whole lifestyle, taking a whole lifestyle and everything into a spiritual practice, then eventually Mahabhattarika reveals herself. Tripura Sundari reveals herself. That is the same. But she reveals herself in her fullness. And between this Mahanitya and that, there are so many revelations that the spiritual path is filled with beauty, revelations, guidance, and love. There is no room for fear. And therefore, we take time when we do these rituals to understand each word. You need to pause. And believe me, it will take years to study this one practice. And this one practice is more than sufficient. But it will take years. Why? Because when I say Mahanithi, I pause. I meditate, I contemplate on Mahanithi. I can spend a few hours in the peak of that new moon or in the peak of that full moon. I snatch perhaps an hour or so to meditate on Mahanithi, because it is after Chitra Mahanithi comes. A path is given to us to understand how do we awaken these forces of the mind and eventually get to the one part which is eternal, Mahanitya. From the 10th night, Dashami, we now come to the same, but this is eternally there. She is always there with us, inside of us. That Mahanitya is there. And that revelation motivates us for us to get more and more deeper into this, till the final Tripura Sundari reveals herself to us. My dear brothers and sisters, this is a fascinating journey. The journey into the Sri Chakra is a journey into our own consciousness. If necessary, review these classes again and again. I will, I'm sure I will, because when I listen to some of these classes, I wonder where these words came from. I can almost certainly say they were not mine. They were not what I was thinking. Because that's why I say this from the depths of my heart. These are all guided. And therefore, study this and dive into this practice. Not as a ritual, but as a means to expanding your spiritual awareness. As a means to getting closer to the God that you're seeking so diligently through devotion, through study of the scriptures, through discussions, through satsangs, through the grace of the Guru and so on. The God you're seeking is within you. You are that. How do we realize it? Sri Chakra is one of the many paths that give us that beautiful journey, step by step. Let us bring this satsang to an end with a simple chant, as always. As we pray that all these 16 divine Nitya Devis awaken in our minds, guiding our minds to its utmost glory, the Mahanithi, and ultimately the Maha Tripura Sundari. Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Om Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. Jai Bolo Pavan Sut Hanuman ki Jai. Siyavar Ramchandra ki Jai. Satguru Sai Nath Maharaj ki Jai. Namah Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadev. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.